Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel featuring my son Corn. Anyways, let's delve into a couple of so-called artists that have some very interesting looking artwork. And again, let's not send hate to any parties involved. So we have a user Amy McLaren writing on Threads scammer alert. Authors, beware of AI scammers targeting your DMs. An account named Sharkle001 or Shark Arts slid into my DMs offering character art for $100. Their bio explicitly claims anti-AI and they have a blue verification bag, but it's a complete trap. I didn't even catch the details myself until my PR team looked into it and pointed out the massive red flags. The paid blue check. They created the account March 2026 and bought Meta verified in May 2026. The PayPal scam. They insisted on PayPal friends and family. This completely strips your buyer protection so you can't get a refund when you realize it's a scam. This one, absolutely massive. If you are commissioning art, for the love of God, if somebody asks you to pay through friends and family, don't do it. It is like $5 more or whatever to go do goods and services, but that is the safest way to stay protected. And don't let people gaslight you into being like, well, friends and family, we save money. Goods and services protects everyone. It protects both the client and it protects the artist. So it's just a safer way to do it, even if you have to pay a fee. But it continues stolen portfolio. They only have 6 posts and every single one is a completely different art style. Authors, be safe. That is also a red flag. Now, I will add, many artists work in different styles and they work in different mediums. But if it looks like a different person drew every single one of their art pieces, I might look for a little bit more information from the artist. They also add, if somebody slides into your DM offering cheap art, refuses to send a Procreate or Clip Studio time-lapse video, or demands friends and family, block them immediately. I will also add, artists rarely pitch themselves in DMs. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's not particularly common. And overwhelmingly so, if you get DM pitches, likely could be a scammer. But it continues attaching screenshots. So this is the account Sharkall001. This is their Instagram page where it says anti-AI. And then these are the DMs where they send some line art and they're like, I'm already working on the colors. Please let me know what you think about it. And then they're like, hi. And OP's like, what software do you use? And they say Clip Studio, Paint, Adobe, One Day Art Studio, and Procreate. Okay, that's also odd because Adobe has a bunch of programs. Adobe has Photoshop, Adobe also has Illustrator. These are going to be the 2 common ones for like drawing. Why not specify that instead of saying Adobe? And then for more context, Amy posts the artwork. That AI art by the scammer Sharkle. This is the sketch. Oh my goodness. I just covered another artist who did a speed paint like this. And I'll link it down below if I remember. But they literally had a speed paint where they were writing notes to themselves and erasing it. I'm just adding, there are artists who will work like this. It can make sense to do that. If it's like a really long art piece, you're going to work over like multiple days. So you leave notes. I leave notes in my own art piece. I'll write the like pen weight and the brush that I use because like sometimes when I line, I will use multiple brushes and multiple line weights. So I just do it to remember because sometimes I forget. They won't be writing stupid notes like this. Like, erase tool. I'm gonna be honest, no artist will have to remind themselves to erase the construction lines. They're gonna look at the piece and be like, yep, I gotta get rid of that. And they have erase pointing to the wrist. And then they have, what is this? Creature talon pointing to the thigh? And then, okay, what's also really suspicious is when there's like traditional texture in a digital piece. This is a digital drawing, but there is an uneven grid, and then there are charcoal scribble marks and more scribble marks. If you work digitally, you won't have these sort of scribble marks that would appear if you were doing a traditional piece. You just wouldn't because you're working digitally and you can put all of your sketches on one layer and toggle the layer off. All the construction lines. Artists will draw with construction lines. That is normal. That is valid. I just think it's interesting to send a sketch in the context of this being a sketch sent to a potential client, right? Most artists would toggle off the construction line layer so that the client sees a clean sketch. It will look like a sketch, but it will look pretty clean, like cleaner, right? I feel like very few artists would send a sketch with all these construction lines in it to the client. At least when I do commissions, I don't do that because like the client isn't going to know what that is. They're going to ask you the question, is the purple line staying in the final piece? And you're going to tell them, oh, no, I'm going to get rid of it. Like, it's just easier to send them the sketch without all the construction lines in it. But yeah, then we have the sketch, or like, I guess the line art version of it. And this is already reading a bit interesting, a little interesting, not the end of the world, but the watch face looks a bit interesting. A little suspicious of this piece. little teeny bits. My gut is feeling a little funny about it. And a commenter screenshots their erase tool thing, and they're like, when did they add the erase set tool? Because yeah, they didn't even erase correctly. Another person said, yup, somebody lying. Another person said, this looks like somebody took the AI result and then asked the AI to add a sketch. No one would need a reminder to erase lines, as sketches are on their own layer and turned off for the final image. Yup. And another person adds, I love the amount of work and energy the AI suckers are willing to invest into faking a creative process and how wrong they get it. Here we have another person on Threads posting, this person has to be an AI sloppist, despite their claims they don't use AI, right? From the very weird hand, the painted fingernails on what they consider line art, the little hairs that go nowhere, the smudgy text on a piece that should be cleaned. Besides, the way they write is absolutely ChatGPT-ish. All right, the first one, this esports logo. Dude, I swear to God, every art scammer ever does the esports logo art style. I don't know what about it. Maybe it's because it's easy for AI to generate these images. I'm not sure. I always notice that's something you'll see in their portfolio, and you will see it intermixed with other art styles that have nothing to do with this. I'm not saying you can't draw in different styles, because you definitely can, but it overwhelmingly, they'll do watercolor artwork, and then they'll have oh, but I could do esports logos too. Come on. When people do these types of logos, again, they tend to specialize in it. And again, artists are allowed to draw in different styles, but it won't be so vastly different for the most part, right? Also, this is also giving Gen AI oddities. This guy's cross-eyed and one eyebrow's really low, and then some part of the hair is lighter. So it's giving a little interesting to me. We have this one. This looks like a coloring book page of some sort of a woman with a whole bunch of ear piercings, which is so sick. And there's a hand kind of reaching behind her head with the fingers melting into the galaxy. And we've got a bunch of tarot cards floating out of the hand and really wobbly gears. And this to me is not giving human error. This to me is giving generated AI slop. Where did the fingers go? We have a stub for a thumb, and then one wobbly index finger. The middle finger is super skinny, and then we don't have any other fingers. And then all the gears are melting into each other. I'm gonna be honest, if this is a coloring book page that this artist is selling, you should get your money back, because they didn't try very hard. What's happening with the gears? Again, if you drew this as a person, you drew the gears a little wobbly, I feel like you would hit the undo button and try again, because it's melting. This is the larger version of that piece, and it inspires even less confidence seeing the full image. Here's another art piece. It's again a very coloring book style, and it's of a woman side profile, and in her head you can see some architectural buildings and some flowers. And then now they do dog watercolor portraits, and pet portraits are typically another specialization. So esports logos being a specialization, pet watercolor portraits being a very separate niche and separate specialization. Again, I'm not saying you can't draw both. You can. When people typically specialize, there's not as many crossovers. They're self-recommending themselves in people's comment sections who are looking for artwork. I always think it's really interesting. They say, hand-drawn Lucy here, no AI. Let's fill each other's feeds with animal art, sparkle emoji. I also hate how AI has taken emojis away from me. I love writing with emojis. And now, if you end every single sentence with an emoji, you look like you're generating stuff with AI. And I hate that, because I used to like doing that. But if you look, it looks one-to-one. Even the little leaves in the back are the same. And a user says, yes, these are definitely AI. They're probably using Bing AI image generator because the quality is giving limited free generated images. And finally, this is not an artist scammer, but an art scam. So just beware. This was posted on Twitter, and it's got 1 million views. And OP writes, was scrolling through Pinterest and saw somebody try to promote their brush using an artwork I made ages ago and without credits. I just want to say that I'm a Critter user and I use a default brush, LMAO. And the artist name, by the way, is Porcelain. And this art piece is really cute. But this is a post on Pinterest where it has their art piece, and there's a QR code in the corner. And it says free brushes and patterns. And it's trying to entice you to scan the QR code because oh, look at how pretty the art is. Don't you want this brush? Which, by the way, if you were curious, because people were asking about the brush, they were like, oh, in Krita, it's the pencil 2 on the sketch pack category. And that they don't use a stabilizer. Somebody commented, the amount of times I see these IBIS paintbrushes use art that was made by other artists on a completely different app is wild. And OP says, quote, IBIS paintbrushes, end quote, and as soon as you scan these, you get 30 different malwares. Because yes, that is something that you should be concerned about. A user writes, warning to please not scan any QR codes like this online. They all use the exact same QR code layout in the bottom left and font. They will use it to hack you, since they pretend to be brush QR codes for the stolen artwork in their images. This is actually something that the Federal Trade Commission actually warns you about. It's something called phishing. I guess I've never heard of that before, but it's where they hide phishing links in QR codes. And the Federal Trade Commission says if you see a QR code in an unexpected place, inspect the URL before you open it. And if it looks like a URL you recognize, make sure it's not spoofed. Look for misspellings or a switched letter, where they'll often do that. They'll change like an O to a 0. Don't scan a QR code in an email or text message you weren't expecting, especially if it urges you to act immediately. And protect your phone and accounts. And another user, Jinga, writes, be very careful with QR codes. Only scan from people you trust, like reputable people or brands at an event in person. I'd avoid third-party reposts online. Watched a live demo of WhatsApp getting hacked just from scanning a QR code once, and it's forever seared into my mind. They also add, wow, the post I quoted got community noted by AI, saying that scanning QR codes can't hack you, while linking to sites saying it can. You can read FBI's warning or OWASP's page with just a bit of internet search. AI, please stop ruining the web with misinformation. This is what the FBI says. Again, don't scan random QR codes. Be suspicious. And here is a QRL jacking attack. Again, be very careful. So these are just a few scams to be aware of from both the artist side and the art side. So just stay diligent and stay aware, guys. Don't scan random QR codes you see. And if an artist slides into your DMs offering you art commissions claiming they're super anti-AI and that they can do every art style you want, but you must pay in friends and family, it might be a little bit nefarious. But let's end this video with a positive note because we have a situation of somebody who was falsely accused of using AI. So the artist in question, whose name is Stain Hansen Art, writes, I've been designing digitally for over 2 decades. I've had a lot of people tell me to prove it over the years when it comes to my work. I'm not one to gatekeep, so I'm happy to share. And attached is a video. So in that video, people are accusing the t-shirt of being AI generated. And OP adds line work done in Procreate, colors and floaty pattern in Photoshop, and they link other programs they use. So they highlighted, people kept calling my work AI, so I made a new one. And here we can see the speed paint of them drawing their art piece, where again, they're sketching it out and then they modify part of the face. They do some sort of liquefy to get everything looking perfect. And they go in with the line art. And it looks like they're doing all of the line art in Procreate, I believe, where they're coloring it in. We can see they're literally drawing on the tablet all of the lines. And then they go in and they add the color on top of that. And they made a very, very similar art piece to the first one, but it's of the character holding a sign saying not made with AI. And the top comment reads, people think it's AI? How many art classes did we have together back in college? At least a few, I think. And OP responds, I spent the night in that building more than once because I was working on projects all night before a critique. And another person adds, one of the less mentioned blowbacks from AI is real artists getting accused of faking their work. Anyone from graphic designers to photographers and people you haven't even thought of, like pattern makers, from knitting, sewing, or crochet, all get told their work is fake. It affects their ability to grow their audiences and make sales, and it's a complete slap in the face. And another person adds, I think the saddest thing about this is we say it looks like AI because AI steals from real artists. It's just frustrating as a creative. And that's the most frustrating part, right? Because if you are a creative whose art style was heavily referenced and AI stole from you, now you're going to get a bunch of annoying people in your comments being like, oh, you traced AI or your work is AI generated, when it wasn't. When in fact, it's the other way around and you came before the AI, but now nobody believes you because of the whole rampant use of AI by a bunch of scammers. So I will have the artist, Stain Hansen, linked down below if you would like to go and check them out. Answering again, elephant in the room, wear your sunscreen, kids. Otherwise, you end up with a really, really bad tan line from the crocheted sweater that you made, that you wore to Warped Tour. Had a lot of fun, but now I look horrific. And if you got any tips on how that can make this fade faster because this looks atrocious, please let me know. I would be extremely indebted to you. And if you like this video, hope you like and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram. I try to get my Instagram to 100K. We're getting there, so follow me there. I also have a vlog channel that I'm posting vlogs on, so it would mean a lot if you want to catch me there, if you want to. It's called Cat Yippee. I'm also doing like art and crafty crochet stuff there. And I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST, and Thursdays at 7:30 where I do a podcast with my friend. So I hope to catch y'all there or in another video. Peace.